Hello YouTube, welcome to the channel Vortigon Gaming. Let's run some Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft. Today we will be running a Brackenhide Hollow level 7 as an Arcane Mage. The weekly affixes are Fortified, Incorporeal, and Sanguine. I will be doing my best to give a live commentary to the dungeon run. If you are into that kind of content, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So, you might be wondering why I'm sitting here running a level 7, and well, I'm doing a victory lap after dealing with what I have been dealing with for this past week. I've been going all week trying to run this dungeon to level 20, and I actually tried to get video of it for you guys, but there were a lot of brick keys this week. You know, a lot of people leaving the dungeon like halfway through, maybe even leaving the dungeon in the first boss because we can't clear the first boss, just dying to like really dumb stuff. And I mean, by the time I actually got around to my successful run of this dungeon, I was just so focused on clearing the dungeon that really when I watched back the commentary or the video with the live commentary, I basically wasn't talking at all since I was so hyper focused on just doing the mechanics properly and not dying. So I felt like it wasn't really a video worthwhile of putting on YouTube, since I do like to I do like to supply commentary for these VODs so that I can tell you guys kind of what I'm thinking as I'm thinking them over the course of the run, so you get kind of an idea of my thought process of what I'm doing during the run. But hey, maybe you're the kind of person that hates listening to me talk and would rather watch these videos without any commentary whatsoever, which I know people like that. And, if you'd like to see more videos of me just, posting my VODs with no commentary, but maybe, annotations instead, let me know in a comment down below if that's something you'd be interested in seeing in the future. I don't really have the time or the resources to kind of do that level of sophistication with my video editing. But, in the future when I get some more time or resources to do that, maybe I'll look into doing that. Also, in my failed attempts, I did try to record those to see if I would get a successful run of this dungeon on a +20. I did get a lot of bloopers there, and so if you'd be interested in watching like a compilation, maybe like at the end of every Mythic Plus season, I just throw a compilation together of all my bloopers over the course of a season. Again, I don't really have the resources to do it now, but I may be able to do so in the future. So if that's something you're interested in seeing, let me know in a comment down below, and I'll look into doing something like that for you guys. Anyway, the deal with Brackenhide Hollow is, I've gotten this opinion from a lot of the people that I've run with this week, that this seems to be the dungeon that players hate the most this season. Just generally, there are a lot of issues with, running this dungeon this season, but especially on this week. You don't see it right now because we're only running a level 7, but at level 14, the Sanguine affix kicks in. And it just so happens that this dungeon has a lot of casters in it. A lot of casters that can't necessarily be interrupted, so if they accidentally stand in one of the Sanguine pools, you're going to have a bad time. Basically, it's just going to waste like a lot of time for you trying to, burn down that extra health that gets healed back up. And yeah, it can get pretty rough if you don't kind of stun or, knock back those casters out of those blood pools. So that is something to, watch out for at the higher levels. Incorporeal, on the other hand, is not too bad to deal with. You just need to make sure that you set a focus on the right target. I like to set my focus on the War Scourges so that I can interrupt Hideous Cackle, and then whenever the Incorporeal beings come out, I can polymorph them. And the good thing about Incorporeal beings is that they don't take any damage. They're immune to damage, which means you can't accidentally knock them out of polymorph. Right. Anyway, we are going to the first boss. I'm going to focus Gashtooth down. Gashtooth does have an attack called Mark for Butchery, which you don't want to kind of get hit by, or you do want to save a personal for it. The personal I use for it is called Ice Cold, and it basically reduces damage taken by a lot. He's not targeting me this time, but in case he were, I would hit Ice Cold right now. It would basically negate pretty much all the damage coming out from that Mark of Butchery. Anyway, that is going to be Gas Tooth going down. Next we'll focus Trick Totem. You know, if Trick Totem were still alive by the time this guy hits about 100 energy, she'll spawn a Hex Trick Totem that we need to burn down so it, you know, we can get our tank out of the stun. And then, yeah, just focus them all down and kill them. And that's boss number 1, so let's give ourselves a slash cheer and move on to the next part of the dungeon.
I have many wares.
So at this part of the dungeon, there is a fork in the road back there. From what I've seen, at least when I'm running this on higher levels, pretty much all the tanks go to the right of the dungeon. And I'm guessing that since, you know, going left, there's maybe just too much stuff to deal with that way. It's, you know, it takes too long. It's kind of trash inefficient. So basically you pull more trash than you actually need for the dungeon. Oop, our healer is down. That is not good. You know what? I do have mass barrier in case they need it. That will provide at least that'll give at least a little sustain to the group there if they need any supplementary healing. Alright. Incorporeal being is taken care of. I think the monk released, so they actually spawned all the way back at the beginning of the dungeon. There's no change in graveyard until we get to the Tooth boss. Once you kill boss number 2, then the Tuskars will run to the boss room of the boss you just killed, and then that will spawn a graveyard right there. But you do have to wait for the Tuskars to actually show up at the campsite before you hit release, or else you will spawn at the beginning of the dungeon. And I actually learned that the hard way on one of my runs where I tried to beat this at a you know, level 20 earlier this week. Luckily it didn't brick that key because we actually already bricked the key by dying over 18 times by that point. But you know, it was fine. I just needed the run for the vault gear, and you know, everyone stuck around. And you know, other than dying 18 times, it was an alright run, I would say. I did learn a few things from that run actually that maybe I'll mention later in the dungeon if I have the opportunity. But anyway, we'll go ahead and hit Shifting Power to get some of our cooldowns back. Then we'll focus this Wilted Oak right here. Wilted Oak has an attack called Necrotic Breath that does need to be interrupted. It can be dodged, but these fights up here can get a little bit crazy. And it might be hard to see the frontal or what way he's facing when he does when he starts casting Necrotic Breath. So I think it's better to just you know, interrupt it when you see him start to cast it. Anyway, we'll go ahead and set a focus on the other Wilted Oak. Right, Stomp is coming out. There is a giant whatchamacallit, swirly on the ground, brown swirl. Let's go ahead and do a burn. Now, I haven't mentioned much about the Arcane rotation yet, since, I mean, if you're running a level 7, learning how to play your class is the least of your worries. You could be, you know, you could play whatever class you want, you could be the worst person in the world at playing it, and you can still time these dungeons. You can still, like, 3-star these dungeons just by doing mechanics and not dying, right? But if you are interested in how Arcane Mage plays, basically there are 2 phases to your rotation. There's the burn phase and the conserve phase. The burn phase involves you applying Radiant Spark to your target and then casting 5 spells onto it. Usually it's 4 Arcane Blasts and 1 Arcane Barrage. And you apply Touch of the Magi to the target as the barrage is traveling toward the target. And the idea is that Radiant Spark and Touch of the Magi both give you burn windows to do as much damage as you can to the target. And then once the Touch of the Magi wears off, you go into the conserve phase, which is basically you use your spells in such a way that you have enough mana for the next burn phase. That's about it. It looks like we are going into the Tooth boss already, so you know what, I'll give myself personal hero. I am using the talent that actually gives you, it allows you to put hero on yourself even if you do have the temporal displacement debuff. Okay, Decay Spray, we want to take that toward the boss so the ads are here and we can focus them down really quickly. If the ads weren't dead already, I could use Dragon's Breath or Blast Wave to interrupt their cast of Gushing Ooze. We'll go ahead and hit Shifting Power to get some of our cooldowns back. Maybe not the best time to do it since we do have to break this shield, this consuming shield. Go ahead and focus the ads right there. And it looks like this boss is about to go down, so I will actually save my next burn, even though I have the ingredients for it. And that's boss number 2 down. We'll go ahead and give ourselves a slash cheer and move on to the next part of the dungeon. So Stink Breath's coming up. Stink Breath has 2 attacks. One of them is, well, it's an attack called Stink Breath. And it turns out that ranged casters or ranged DPS can actually outrange the Stink Breath cast. Which is something you want to do, since if you get hit by the Stink Breath cast, it's actually, I think, a 5-second disorient. And, well, you basically can't do anything in that time. Also, it hurts at higher levels, and you might die to it. Luckily, the graveyard is right there, behind us a little bit. But usually it's better if you don't die in these, you know, in Mythic Plus, because there is a timer, and dying takes 5 seconds off the timer, and you have to also account for the, you know, the time it takes to reapply your buffs. Usually it's 10 seconds for the food, and then the time it takes for you to walk back, which, well, depends on how far the graveyard is, right? Anyway, let's go ahead and hit Shifting Power. I do want my Time Warp back in time, so I can use it whenever I need it. I don't know if I will use it on the 3rd boss. I might save it for the last boss. Okay, so they are pulling this pack. We usually avoid this pack on higher levels. The one bad thing about trying to avoid this pack is I'm pretty sure one of the ads in this pack has stealth detection, so you can't just use, you know, greater invisibility or any like invisibility potion to avoid them. You actually have to like path properly. And we've had some wipes earlier this week from you know, people in our group, including me, just not pathing properly at that point and accidentally pulling that pack. Oh, that, okay, I was afraid that the orb, that stray orb, might have pulled the hyena. Anyway, it looks like the tank did want to pull the hyenas anyway, so you know what, we'll go ahead and we'll do a burn on the boss right here. We want to make sure those traps are taking care of the hyenas. Alright. Doesn't look like any cubs are out. We'll go ahead and hit Shifting Power to get some of our cooldowns back. Blink out of the trap before it drops down.
Rip them apart, beast!
Okay.
Come, cubs, feed you.
And that's going to be the 3rd boss down. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a slash cheer and move on to the last part of the dungeon. I just want to check how much DPS I did on the last one. Treemouth, 126. I mean, that's alright, I guess. You may have also noticed an overtime Brackenhide Hollow 13. To be fair, that was with a 4-man group. I think one of the people in our key left like almost immediately after the first couple of wipes, but everyone else needed vault gear, so I, you know, chose to stay behind and kind of carry them through that. And we actually didn't get that far overtime, considering that we were only doing it with a 4-man, right? Alright. I hope that wasn't me that accidentally pulled that. I think that was intentional on the part of our tank. All right, we'll go ahead and use a burn on this pack. All right. Also, it's a good habit to set a focus on the war scourges in here, especially with you know, this week that we're running. Oh, I do. Yeah, I do need to interrupt Hideous Cackle. All right. Let's go ahead and take out the 5th caller. Since I still have interrupt, we'll also interrupt Decay Surge at the moment. That green circle around me was called Withering Contagion. You want to not stand near a person, since if you do stand near someone in your group with that green circle, it will actually jump to that next person, which makes sense, seeing it is called Withering Contagion, and that's kind of how, you know, contagious diseases work. Alright, looks like we're going right to the boss, actually. Since we already have cleared enough trash for this dungeon. You know what, I think I'll do hero and just pop all my cooldowns on this guy. I think that'll be good. Alright. On this one, when the totem comes out, this is a very simple boss fight. When the totem comes out, focus your DPS on the totem and kill it before it gets its cast off. That's pretty much it. Alright, we'll go ahead and hit shifting power to get some of our cooldowns back. Blink out of the way. And I think we should be able to take this boss down before the next totem, actually, which would be funny. Alright. Anyway, this is going to about do it for Brackenhide Hollow, level 7. Give ourselves a slash cheer. Thank everyone for a pretty clean run, and even congratulate them for beating the timer. Of course, we are an Arcane Mage, so the common courtesy is to give everyone a portal back to the main hub of the expansion. And that's going to about do it here for this video. So if you liked what you saw here, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to see me run any other dungeons during Dragonflight Mythic Plus Season 2, let me know in a comment down below which dungeon you'd like to see me run. And hopefully I can get around to posting a VOD of that. Anyway, that's going to about do it for me here, so I hope you all had fun watching, and I will see you all later.